It was August 15, 2019, just before midnight, when a frantic call came into Thames Valley Police. On the other end of the line was Peter Wallace, a homeowner in Berkshire. His voice shook with urgency.
Thames Valley Police, what's your emergency?
I've got 4 masked men outside my house and they've got weapons. They came round earlier and now they're at my property.
As he told the operator that 4 masked men, armed with weapons, were on his property. They weren't there for him. They were there for his 10,000 pounds quad bike. From his bedroom window, Wallace watched as the group hooked his prized vehicle to a car with a tow rope. The operator begged him not to confront them, but Wallace couldn't stand by and watch. Moments later, officers were dispatched to the scene. Among them was 28-year-old police constable Andrew Harper. Within minutes, Harper would be mortally injured on a dark country lane, a crime that would horrify Britain and spark years of anger, reform, and debate. But how did the burglary escalate into one of the most tragic cases in modern British policing? The suspects were no strangers to crime. Henry Long, Arbor Bowers, and Jessie Cole, aged 18 and 17 at the time, were from Four Houses Corner Caravan Site, a well-known traveler community in Berkshire. For them, stealing wasn't a rare act of rebellion, it was a way of life. Expensive farm vehicles, motorcycles, and quad bikes were favorite targets. Night after night, they prowled the countryside in stolen or cheap cars, their faces masked, searching for easy prey. Henry Long was the ringleader. Bright compared to his peers, but with no real education. He'd been raised in an environment where the theft was practically the family trade. His father and grandfather were both thieves, and by 15, he was already in and out of police custody. His father even filmed one of his arrests, treating it like a badge of honor rather than a moment of shame. Albert Bowers and Jessie Cole both struggled in school. By their teens, they abandoned education altogether, instead learning petty crime from older relatives. Local residents saw the trio as troublemakers, a blight on the community, and police knew them well. Still, leaders within the wider traveler community condemned their actions, making it clear that these boys didn't represent traveler values. But that did little to ease public anger when their names became known, as this wasn't their first attempt that day. Earlier, on August 15th, the trio had boldly shown up to Wallace's property on broad daylight, masks on, clearly eyeing his quad bike. Wallace confronted them, demanding to know what they were doing. They backed off, but they weren't finished. Hours later, just before midnight, they returned. This time, they came prepared. They had taped over their car's number plates and rigged it with a heavy tow rope designed to snare the quad bike quickly. Wallace, still on the edge from their earlier attempt, spotted headlights creeping down this lane. He immediately grabbed his phone and dialed 999. From his window, he watched as the car pulled up and masked teens got to work. "They're stealing my bike," he shouted into the phone.
Breaking into my garage to nick my stuff, eh? And they're both threatening outside. I presume they know I'm in here.
The operator begged him to stay inside. Wallace's voice grew desperate. PC Andrew Harper and his colleague, PC Andrew Shaw, were nearby. They had just wrapped up an unrelated surveillance operation. Their shift was technically over, but when the burglary came through, they didn't hesitate to respond. That decision would change everything. Harper and Shaw sped down Admore Lane, a dark country road. Suddenly, a car appeared.
I ran after the vehicle. I've now lost him.
Dragging the stolen quad bike behind it. Shaw slammed the brakes to avoid a collision. In the chaos, Harper leaped out to pursue one of the suspects on foot. But then disaster struck. Unbeknownst to Harper, the heavy tow rope was still trailing behind the car. As he ran after the suspect, his legs slipped into the loop. In an instant, it tightened like a noose. Henry Long, behind the wheel, accelerated. Harper was yanked off his feet, dragged at high speed. For more than a mile down the narrow lanes. The forensic analysis later showed the car averaged 42 miles per hour as Harper's body was pulled violently along the tarmac. The injuries sustained were catastrophic. Broken bones, severed head trauma, devastating lacerations. Experts later said he likely lost consciousness almost immediately, meaning he may have been spared the full agony of what happened. When Harper's body finally came loose near Junction, PC Shaw's dash cam recorded his desperate call. Body in the road, body in the road. But the suspects weren't done yet.
Doing this to him. Look, all he's doing this to him, look.
Police scrambled to steal off the area. A helicopter with thermal imaging sourced the countryside, guided by officers on the ground. It didn't take long before they picked up signs of heat from a vehicle hidden among the trailers at the Four Houses corner site. Around 1 a.m., officers raided the caravan park. Henry Long and Albert Bowers were arrested on the spot. A few hours later, Jessie Cole was found hiding nearby. The evidence against them piled up quickly. Harper's blood and DNA were found on the tow rope, under the car, and on the bumper. The taped-over number plates were recovered. Burglary tools and forensic traces tied the trio directly to the crime. Still, the question remained, was this murder or manslaughter? The Crown Prosecution Service charged all three teenagers with murder. Their accomplice, Thomas King, was charged with conspiracy to steal. Henry Long admitted to manslaughter but denied murder. Bowers and Cole denied both charges. The defense argued that none of them intended to kill Harper, and that they didn't even realize he was caught on the rope. The trial at Old Bailey was dramatic from the start. Dashcam footage of Harper's final moments was shown in court, leaving jurors visibly shaken. But external pressures threatened to proceedings. The first trial was halted in March 2020 due to COVID-19 lockdown. A retrial began that summer, but not without controversy. Reports of jury intimidation surfaced, and one juror was dismissed after allegedly mouthing words of encouragement to the defendants. In July 2020, the verdict came in. All three were acquitted of murder. Long's manslaughter plea stood, and Bowers and Cole were convicted of manslaughter as well. The sentences? Henry Long, 16 years, Albert Bowers and Jessie Cole, 13 years each. They would serve at least 2/3 before being eligible for release. For Harper's widow, Lizzie, and for much of the Britain public,
disappointed with the verdict given today.
It felt like a devastating miscarriage of justice. Dragging a police officer for over a mile, how could that not be murder? Behind the headlines and courtroom battles was a young man whose life was stolen, just as it was beginning. Andrew Harper grew up in Willingford, Oxfordshire. From a young age, he dreamed of serving his community as a police officer. By 19, he had joined as a volunteer and soon became a full-time constable with Thames Valley Police. In 2019, 2 milestones defined his joy. First, after nearly a decade of service, he earned a spot on the Elite Roads Policing Unit. He had been on the team for just 6 weeks when tragedy struck. Second, and more importantly, he had just married the love of his life, Lizzie Beckett. They had been together for 13 years, childhood sweethearts who had finally tied the knot. They were due to leave for their honeymoon just days after the night he was killed. Andrew was remembered by colleagues as brave, dedicated, and kind, a man who would never hesitate to help others. His death sent shockwaves through the policing community and broke the hearts of those closest to him. His funeral at Christ Church Cathedral was attended by hundreds of officers, officials, and members of the public. The streets were lined with mourners as his cortege passed, a somber tribute to a man who gave his life in the line of duty. Lizzie Harper refused to let her husband's death be in vain. She launched a campaign to change the law so that anyone who kills an emergency worker while committing a crime would automatically face a life sentence. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, frustrations, and delays, but Lizzie's determination never wavered. Supported by police organizations and the public, her campaign gained momentum. In April 2022, Harper's Law was officially passed. Now, in the UK, if you kill a police officer, firefighter, paramedic, or other emergency service workers in the line of duty, you face a mandatory life sentence. For Lizzie, it was a bittersweet victory. Nothing could bring Andrew back, but his legacy would help protect others who serve on the front lines. Even after the law passed, the case stirred anger. Four Houses Corner Caravan site, the home of Harper's killers, was allocated £1.5 million in taxpayers-funded reimbursements. For many, it felt like an insult. The very place tied to his death was being rewarded with improvements while his widow and colleagues lived with grief. Local residents expressed outrage, calling it a slap in the face. Some even reported celebrations on the site when the sentences were announced. The community remained divided, and the controversy over the reimbursement continues to this day. On that August night, PC Andrew Harper responded to a call like he always did, bravely, without hesitation. He had no way of knowing that within minutes, his life would be taken in one of the most harrowing ways imaginable. His killers may not have been convicted of murder, but their actions left a permanent scar. And yet, through his widow's tireless fight, Harper's law ensures that his sacrifice was not in vain. The story of Andrew Harper is one of senseless tragedy, but also of resilience, love, and legacy. So now, I'll leave it to you. Do you believe justice was truly served in this case? Should the sentences have been harsher, or was the manslaughter verdict fair? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories that go beyond the headlines.